Hey there, welcome to part 3 of the Skin to Skin extended crossover front sew along. This is a hack and we are sewing along. Now today we're going to do the waistband and the thumb cuffs. So we're going to start with the thumb cuffs because those are a little more tricky. Move my mouse out of the way. So I have my pieces cut out right here. I have my little thumb cuff bands. And then I have my thumb cuff pieces. So this part is fun. I love doing these thumb cuffs because they come out so well every time and they're so easy to do. So starting with one piece, I have my right side facing up. I'm going to grab a couple clips because I do use clips for this part. And I am going to fold one of my little thumb bands in half so the right sides are facing out. And then I am going to just clip it to one of the curves. Now when I do this, I like to line up the little, let me move this forward so you can kind of see it a little bit better. I like to line up the little, the sides together because when I sew it and then when I sew the next steps after that, it makes a big difference. You can even overlap it a little bit so the cuff itself is hanging off. So I am going to pin each end to one of these little curves, just like so. And then I'm going to stretch it out and pin the center. Stretch, do my fingers and thumbs, find the center, and clip. So I have this little thing. You can do more clips if you're more comfortable with it. You don't have to. You can even baste this right now if that helps you. It's one of those things that just takes practice to get. But once you get it, it's not hard at all. Then I'm going to fold this piece over on top. So I'm going to line up those curves. And then I'm just going to add that top layer to the clips that are already there and line it up as I go also. So there's one side and then the other side, and then find that center again. So I have a nice little sandwich with my band that's in there. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew along this. So let me do that. Actually, I'll do the other one really quick too, so that way if you missed anything I just talked about, we can do it all over again. Okay, so here, I can even bring you in closer. Hello. Let's come closer so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, 3 clips. 1, 2, 3. That's all I need. Fold in half. The right side's facing out. Find one end, clip it right there. Find the other end and bring it around to the other side of that curve and clip it right there. Okay, now find the center. There it is, and clip the center. Lay it out nicely, and then fold. There we go. And add the top part to our little clip. 1, 2, and 3. So now when I sew this, I pull it as I sew. It doesn't make that big of a difference. Depending on your fabric, if you have something that has good recovery, it's not going to stretch it out too much. But also the way your thumb is curved, you have that extra pad right there. So even pulling it a little bit, if it stretches out, it's still going to contour to that thumb pad. So that's where this is going to go. All right, I'm going to sew these. Let me pull you guys back up here so you can see what I'm doing again. All right, so this is where lining it up to that edge really makes a difference. It's because when I go to put it in my machine, it's already lined up and I don't have to fuss with it versus just throwing the band in there a little bit. So I get it as close to my needle as I can. And started. Then pull it so it's all straight and even. Take my clips out as I go. Don't really need them. I don't need my clips. Said no one ever, and then they got to play with their seam ripper. That's me. Alright, there is one sewn together. Let me do the other one real quick. Now, if you notice the other day, I didn't pick up my presser foot while I was sewing. Usually I don't, but with something that you're working with a smaller area, I like to get it close to the needles so that way I have more control over what's going on versus something where you have longer seam. You still have a lot of control even if you don't pick up your presser foot with a serger. Regular machine, you gotta pick up your presser foot no matter what. Clip my threads. Okay, so we have these two now with those beautiful little seams, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn them right side out. So there's one. Turned right side out. There's that cuff right there. And here's the other one. Alright, so this step you can press it if you want to. It makes it easier if you do, because you do have this curve that tries to get a little bit of wonky waves into it while you're doing this. I don't. I enjoy pressing as much as I enjoy pinning, if that tells you anything about how I sew. Okay, so you want to dress out your fold and your wristband as much as you can. You just want to have a good fold line there. You want your raw edges at the bottom to be lined up, and then you want your curve to be where it needs to be. Now, if you work on something that you can pin to, like a felt block or something, you can certainly take sharp pins, not clips, and pin it in place, and that'll help hold it in place. I've done that too. Just depends on the fabric and what you're using. This is kind of a, I think it's cotton or some sort of natural fabric. I'm not exactly sure. I got it at Walmart in their bins. So it could be anything, but it feels like cotton, and when I played with fire with it, it looked like cotton, so I think that's what it is. Alright, so now let me tell you what I'm doing versus just doing it. So now I have my fold up here, I have my raw edges down here. I'm going to fold this over like that and just fold it. Now what I'm going to do is my corners up here, my folds right there, I'm going to put a clip right in, catch the bottom two layers, and then one of the top layers closest to it. And that's all I'm going to do right there. Then I'm going to take my top layer and I'm going to flip it around the other side. And then dress all of my raw edges down. So all my raw edges are together. Now what you should have is you should have a fold here, and this piece is a fold here. So it's an inside out cuff. And on this side you have one solid piece, and then sandwiched in between you have your thumb cuff, and then you have the other piece on top. So now what you're going to do is you're going to pin or clip this edge right here. So, and I like to do it where the thumb cuff is going to be, so that way I don't have to pull it and mess with it while I'm sewing, even though I'll probably take the pins out while I'm sewing. It's just one of those things that's easier. And then I do my bottom raw edges first to make sure they're all lined up where I want them to be, and then pull that thumb cuff where it needs to be, and then pin that in place. So when you're sewing, it's really important that you catch these thumb cuff edges right here. Those are what's going to make or break your contoured thumb cuff. Okay, so that's what I have. I'm going to sew that together. Let me show you one more time, and I'll turn this so that you can see it a little bit. Oh, different direction. We'll do this again. Okay, so dress it up, make it look pretty. All of your raw edges lined up where they want to be. Not where they want to be, where they need to be. There's a huge difference there, sorry. Okay, so I have this corner. This is a fold. This is a raw edge. This is a raw edge. That's a raw edge. I'm going to take this and fold it over so my straight raw edge is right in line with my thumb cuff raw edge. I'm going to find that top fold right there, and I'm going to put those two corners together. So I have my fold on top, and then I'm going to put my clip on the bottom 3 layers. So the layers that have the thumb cuff, and then the first layer closest to that, and as close to that fold line as I can get. So I have it covering those 3 layers, but not the top one because that's going to be folded over. Okay, so I do that. Beautiful. Now I'm going to take that top layer, only the top layer, and I'm going to fold it around to the back. Like that. And then I'm going to dress up all of my sides. Give me a minute. That kind of got wonky. You find all 4 corners at the bottom. That's the easiest way to do it. And then go from there. So I got them right there. So I'm going to clip that real quick so they don't go anywhere. Otherwise I'm going to do it 4 more times before I'm done with this video. Okay. And then all of my folds will be lined up. Now I want to clip where my thumb cuff is. So I'm going to dress it up, make it look pretty, make the raw edges line up perfectly, and then I'm going to clip right where my thumb cuff is. So, already have that bottom clip there. Now I'm going to clip the thumb cuff, and then do the same on top. Clip the thumb cuff. And I can also move this top clip so it's got all 4 layers in there if I want to. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to sew along this line. So I'm going to do that real quick. Yeah, I just did that. All right. There's one. Two. Now, talking about clipping threads for a minute. So anytime you don't have a set of threads going into a seam, you're going to want to tie it off or secure it somehow. Otherwise, you run the risk of it coming undone over time with washing. So here's a good example. I have my raw edge down here. I know that that's going to go into another seam, so I can clip that off. But this up here, this is part of the cuff, and it's not going into another seam. So I'm just going to tie that in a knot real quick. And there's lots of different ways to tie off your serger threads if you're using a serger. I just tie a knot. It's really simple and easy, and then I don't have to fuss with going back and forth on my machine or anything like that, even though I could do that. I just like going straight forward with it. So that's how I do it. You can get a needle and thread and sew it in. You can get what is it, Stitch Fix or whatever it's called, where you put a little drop of stuff on there and it kind of glues it. So there's lots of different ways. And then I just snip the edges from there. Okay, so we have our 2 thumb cuffs. Now all we have to do is flip them right side out. So choose one side, it doesn't matter, and just flip around. And there is one contoured thumb cuff. I like to dress up my bottom seam before I go anywhere else, otherwise it kind of gets wonky. Throw a clip in there too, so it stays. Okay, there's one, and the other one will just, so anytime you're making cuffs or something and you want to find the middle, or you want your cuffs to stay put, we have our raw edges all lined up here. If you take a clip and just do it on the 2 raw edges that are closest to each other, that's going to be your halfway mark right there, but then also when you flip it around, it's going to keep those raw edges together so you don't have to dress it up or anything. Okay, even that out. Alright, so we have 2 thumb cuffs, but they're both going the same direction, so what do we do now? Well, that's really easy because these are non-directional. All you have to do is flip it the other way around. And there you have it. 2 thumb cuffs going different directions. Isn't that fun? Okay, so now how do we put this on the skin-to-skin top and make sure that it's going the right way? That's a great question, Kim. Let's answer that. Okay, so let's put these right here. Move my machine over so I have more space to work. This is the front of my skin-to-skin top. This is the front of the sleeve of my skin-to-skin top. Now when I have a sleeve, I want my contoured part of my thumb cuff to hit the bottom side or the back side of where my sleeve line is. So you can use that seam, and you know that that back side, that bottom side, so this side right here is where you want the contoured portion of the thumb to go. So when I take my thumb cuffs and figure out which one goes where, it makes it really fun because I never get it right. We'll see if I actually do get it right this time. So this is inside out, doesn't matter because the back side is still right there, and that's the side that I want my thumb cuff to be on. But if I turn it like this, my thumb cuff's going to be on the top side, so I know that's not the right one. So raw edges, turn it the right way. My seam is right here. I want my seams to line up. So when I line it up and my thumb cuff is facing down towards the back of my skin-to-skin top, that's an easy way to remember that it's going to turn out right, because your thumb cuff closest to the seam, the little thumb cuff right there, needs to be on the same side as the back of your shirt. The back of that seam. So I'm going to stuff it in there, and then I'm going to pin this in place. Now, if you get mixed up and do it the wrong way, great thing is these thumb cuffs, as long as you have one going each way, these thumb cuffs, they work contoured either way. I just prefer them on the bottom part because that's how they're designed to fit. So when I put my thumb in here, that cuff part goes on the bottom because it fits right around that thumb curve. But if I put it on the wrong side on accident, so if this turns out backwards, it's not going to make a huge difference because that contoured part is just going to be on the top, but it still functions and looks nice too. So just the way it's meant to be versus the way it turns out doesn't always work out. The last one I made, I got confused and it turned out wrong, but that's okay because I'll still wear it. Okay, so I have that one in. Now I'm going to do the other side. Okay, I have the front of my sleeve and the back of my sleeve, my raw edges, and I'm going to slide it into the sleeve so that my thumb cuff is hitting the back part of the sleeve, and I'm lining up the seams on both the cuff and the sleeve. So there's my seams. Clip. Press it out. Clip. Okay, and then I'm just going to sew these in the round. So let me do that real quick. Dressing it up as I go. Okay, longer tail because this is not going into a seam anywhere, so I'm going to tie it off and then snip the end. And I just do an overhand knot. You can do a fancier knot. I don't usually. Alright, there's that one. Let's do the next one. Tie it off. Alright, now we're going to check it out and see if we did it right. So turn these sleeves right side out, possibly, maybe. Okay, there's the back, so I'll put my hand in. There's one. Woohoo, I did that one right. Let's see if the other one turned out. Put my arm in the way it should go. I did. It worked. Woohoo! Okay, now we're going to do the waistband. So, let's lay our skin to skin out. Like so. There's our pretty pockets. Here's the waistband. Okay. So, your waistband, folded in half, right sides together. I already had mine folded. It goes out longer, you can see, but I don't think my camera will show you the full length of it, and I don't think you really need to see the full length of it. Now, there's two ways to do a waistband, depending on your fabric and what you're using it for. If it's something that's going to do a lot of work and hold a lot of weight or wear, then just sew up this side seam, fold it inside itself. If it's something that doesn't really like the waistband on this, which isn't going to do anything other than just sit there, like it just sits there, it doesn't like hold any function, doesn't hold your pants up or anything, what I like to do is I like to fold this over on itself. So you have this corner, your short raw edge, here's where you're going to stitch, and then just like the thumb cuff that we just did, when we flip it over, the cuff is already going to be formed and you don't have to mess with trying to get it dressed to stay in place. So I'm just throwing a clip in here so that way after I sew it, when I turn it, it makes it easy and it stays where I want it to be. And then I'm going to line these up a little bit better. And I am just going to stitch the short edge right here. Okay, so again, we have that seam, or that end that's not going to go into a seam, so it gets tied off, snipped. Now, just because I like to do it the easy way, I'm going to throw a couple clips in here while I'm doing this. So I have my two inner layers right here, and I'm just going to throw a clip in the center right there. Okay, now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip this around. I'm going to start at the edge with the fold, and and I'm going to put my thumb right on the edge of that corner, and I'm going to flip it over, and then just do the same thing on the stitched edge. So now we have our band. So we have a fold here and raw edges here, and no messing with trying to get all of the edges to line up. I just made that look really easy. It usually doesn't look that easy when I do it. Okay, so we have our band ready to go. We have all our raw edges, we have our fold, we have our top right here that wants to have a band on it. Now when you're doing this, you have 3 layers. 1, 2, 3. Make sure you get the right layers. What you want is that back piece and then the 2 front pieces. So I already have my back piece. I like to put my seams on the side, so I'm just going to slide that in there and clip it in place. And then I already have this corner pinned, so I'm just going to slide it in there and pin it right on the seam. And then I'm just kind of scooch it in, and I already have my pin in the center. I'm going to stretch out my band, make sure it hits that right spot right there, and I'm going to add the back piece into that, and then do the same for the 2 front layers. Just those out a bit. Stretch out my band. Make sure that's right where it's going to hit. And then clip it to the band. Now you can add as many clips as you want to make this go. I like to dress it up as I go, so that's what I'm going to do. I'll start in the back and then work my way around and sew them around. Alright. My foot pedal wandered off. Come back here. No. Not over there. Oh my goodness. Alright. We're getting to the front where we have 4 layers, so just need to make sure we're catching all 4 of those layers and that they're lined up just right. Pins help with this part. I hate pins. Long tail because it's not going into a seam. I'm going to tie it off and then clip it. And now we are basically done. So let's turn it right side out, make sure everything looks good. Alright, there's one. There's 2. There's my waistband. There's my pockets. Alright, we're good. Yay! That is the skin to skin extended front hack. So thanks for joining me. I enjoyed this. I hope you did too.